You're not your best self if you're overworked. Like, it's not worth it. Don't do stuff if it's going to make you unhappy. That's the philosophy that we're going with this week. Hello my loves, and thank you for joining me. It's Kirsten, and I have started the biggest book on my TBR this month, and I'm kind of worried because it is huge, and we are on the 11th of July, and I've only read one book this month, which is really slow for me. Well, technically two, but only one off of my actual TBR for the month. So we're running a bit behind. I still have 8 books left to read, and this is one of them. And this is Helen of Troy by Margaret George. It's 750-ish pages long. So I'm really hoping that I'll finish it this week. But regardless, I am really enjoying this book actually. So I did start a very small bit of it yesterday when I was travelling, which you would have seen in the Yelk book haul, so I'm not going to get back into all of that, but I did start it then. I literally only a tiny bit though. I read like 20 pages, so it doesn't really count. And then today I've got up to page 93. I'm really enjoying this. The way it's formatted actually makes it really easy to read, especially because it has chapter breaks which work really nicely, and then also the actual chapters themselves, and they're pretty short. It's not too bad. I'm on chapter 11, maybe 12, but the chapters do start just like in the middle of the page, so it's this, when it's 750 pages, we're talking 750 pages full of text. Amazing text though. I'm really enjoying this. So Margaret George is actually someone that's done some autobiographies of like Henry VIII, Mary Queen of Scotland. I think that because she is an avid historian and has done previous autobiographies, it lends a bit more to this and the way it's written, if that makes it does in my mind. But this is a story of Helen. Now, we all know Helen from Greek mythology, with everything that went on with the Trojan War, everything that came about as a result. There's been so many films and adaptations of books, different retellings, like there's been so much. But this is the first book that I've read that's based around Helen herself, and that makes me so excited because it's great to actually see a point of view from a woman who is so famous within history, and yet somehow we never get her side of the story. So super excited for that. And this is Helen looking back and telling her story, which again, I really like that as a narrative. I think it works really well. I'm gonna say it's one of my favorites. I think it is. It's turning into one of my favorite styles of writing, and it's always been up there ever since Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss and the way he did it. And it's just something that's always stuck with me, that perspective where you're having someone tell their story to you as they're looking back on their life. It just works for me every single time. Anyway, Helen of Troy, so good, as I've been saying 50,000 times to the point where I can't actually think of any other words, but it is. I like this because we are seeing it from her being a really young child, about her family when their father lost his throne, to them getting it back, and her being a child, so just really confused about what's actually going on and not quite understanding it, when their family all goes to the oracle, and everything that surrounds that. I really like the fact that in this, Helen has no idea who she actually is until she's older, and then finds out that Zeus is her father and that she is the only mortal daughter that he has, which is another reason why she's so famous in that mythology line. And then about how she detests the fact that everyone refers to her as the most beautiful woman in the world. It's really interesting for me to see the comparisons though, because I recently read, let me get it, Electra by Jonathan Saint, and this is also surrounding the exact same timeline, but we're following a few different perspectives, one of them being Clytemnestra, Helen of Troy's sister. And it's really interesting to see how we have these two authors that have portrayed both these characters in such different ways. So in this book, Helen is seen really sure of herself and uses her beauty as a weapon, and that Clytemnestra is the one that is unsure and a bit more timid. In this, the roles are reversed. You have Clytemnestra that's really this strong warrior-like woman that's really argumentative and set in her ways, and then you have Helen who just feels a little bit more like unsure of herself and doesn't want a big fuss around her, and resents the fact that that's what her marriage is being turned into, because that's the part I'm up to, is her marriage all the men that's arrived, the feats of strength as a result, and the challenge that she sets Menelaus, I think that's how we pronounce it, the test that she set him and everything to win her hand. Like, it's really interesting. And yeah, there are clear parallels between these books, obviously because it is based on mythology, but you have those clear connecting points. So the advice that Odysseus gives, the fact that obviously who these women actually marry, and also the curse that is on the Atreus family. I'm sorry about all my pronunciations. All of those are clear points within mythology that go back to the original retellings of like Homer and Ovid. It's so good, and yet you see how the characters themselves have just been portrayed in slightly different ways each time, and I am loving it. I think it's so good, and this is why I read so much Greek mythology retellings. I love seeing the threads that go through each of these stories and how they do stick to that, but then how each author interprets it slightly differently, and the way they do their characterization is slightly different, and you can really pick up and choose what type of characterization do you prefer, or in my case I appreciate both of them, and I appreciate seeing these women in just different lights, because obviously they are dead. We have no idea. There is no one alive today that was alive back then that could tell us what these women were actually like, and so I love seeing them portrayed in different ways. I think it's fantastic. So I'm really enjoying this. I have a long way to go, but it's just so good. And oh my gosh, there was a point in this book where Helen converses with Patroclus and Achilles, and oh, loved it, especially because I love Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, which, oh, I should go and get that book soon as I went and got Electra, but getting up again. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. But that book is just beautiful, and again we have the ending around the Battle of Troy, but that book is all about Patroclus and Achilles, their relationship together and everything. But again, you have those key points where they did actually go to contend for Helen's hand and everything that goes as a result. Slight time frame differences within it, but the main plot points there are exactly the same between these different novels. Also, I liked the fact that in this one, Margaret George does talk about the fact that Patroclus was this calming influence on Achilles, which is exactly the case in Song of Achilles, and that's my preferred reenactment of it. You know what? I said to myself, I'm not going to talk for that long because I've only read the first 90 pages of this book, and we're almost at the 10-minute mark and I'm still going. But it's just, I'm loving it so much, and I just love how this book is taking all those different stories and showing us how Helen has been a part of all of it. I mean, obviously around Achilles and Clytemnestra's story and the curse of House Atreus and stuff, but also other ones. Yep, I'm in love. I am loving it. It's just so far been so interesting, and so much has happened, and yet the pacing is beautiful and perfect. It doesn't feel rushed in any way, and the writing is just exquisite. It's the sort of writing that I really like. Clearly I like this because I've been going on about it, but the plan is to try and finish it this week, but it is huge. We will see, because I still have a lot to do. I actually need to edit quite a few videos this week because we're on Monday. I have video due out Wednesday, Friday and Sunday this week, and I haven't edited any of them. I had a really difficult weekend, which you would have seen at the end of that vlog if I managed to get it out on time. So it's put me in a bit of a slow bit with reading and editing videos and everything. So I need to get on it, and I also want to get this read. So clearly we need to try and organise what I'm doing and when to make sure everything gets done on time. I will probably work it all out and get it all done, but yeah, this is great. Let me know if you've read this one, because I don't see many people talking about this one. It is quite old. It was first published in Britain in 2006, so it is an older book, but considering how much hype there is around Greek mythology at the minute and all the retellings that have been coming out, I really think it's great to actually read one that is, oh, there's a particular term for it and I've forgotten, but one that is older and just backlisted. That's the one. And just to read that, because retellings of Greek mythology have been around for years. This isn't anything new, but we are having this spike at the minute in publishing, which I am 100% okay with. But as a result, I do want to read some of the older works as well and just see where different inspirations have come from, and all the things that I've already said about how different authors portray them, etc, etc. We've been talking for too long. I really thought this was going to be a quicker intro, and wow. Anyway, I'm gonna go. I've got a few things to do, so yeah, I'll catch up with you once I've read some more of this amazing book. It's been a busy few days, but at the same time I feel like it's been quite chill. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, I've been productive as hell. I've been editing stuff, which is great. I've got one final edit to do tonight, and obviously working, but also relaxing with it. So I don't feel like I've been overworking myself this week, and I don't think I do that anyway. Like, I'm not the sort of person to overwork myself. Like, I don't see the point in it. And maybe that's just because I'm in a really lucky position, but you're not your best self if you're overworked. Like, it's not worth it. Don't do stuff if it's going to make you unhappy. That's the philosophy that we're going with this week. And yeah, that's it. I don't even know what that tangent was about, to be honest. I've just been doing deep dives into TikToks about the concept of productivity in a capitalist society. And I guess I don't know. Is it a hole that I want to go into? I'm not sure, because it's scary. Anyway, moving on. I've made progress with Helen of Troy and very much enjoying it. I'm up to page 257. We're on chapter 28, Roman numerals, and I am enjoying this. This is really, really good. So I'm not going to go into all the little nuances that's going on in this book, because obviously that will give away plots and stuff for the book. Obviously we all know the overarching plot of Helen of Troy and how it all goes about, and then the resultant effect of all of it. But it's really interesting just seeing little things that are in this, and the perspectives and the things that Helen struggles with, and the choices that she makes, the reason why she makes those choices in this. Like, it's good. I really, really like it. At the minute, we've just got to the part where she has decided to leave with Paris. In this one, it is her choice to make. They're on their route. So we actually get a really amazing map in this, where it maps out the route that they take, which is fantastic. And so we've just stopped off at the first island that they go to, and yeah, fantastic. Loving it. I've already said loads on it, so I'm not going to gush more, but all my thoughts are just carrying over with this. I think it's amazing. I love the writing. There are obviously time jumps in this, because otherwise I think this book would be so much bigger, especially because the first bit of it was focused on her being a child and growing up. Is now 24, so we have gone over 24 years of her life. If you think about it, in a short space of time with 250 pages, but it's done really, really well, and it does follow with different chapters will then progress over the timelines, and I think it does work. So very excited to see where the rest of it goes. I'm really intrigued to actually see how Helen is in Troy, because she was there for such a long time. She was there for 20 years, so it will be really interesting to see from this author's perspective what Helen actually did there, how she was received, what she thought of the place. So yeah, I'm really excited. And I also like how the focus on Aphrodite and what she did for Paris and Helen, and how they both do see this as maybe it's a bit of a curse, but also don't want to fight it. Very interesting. For now, I actually need to brave the heat again, which, by the way, I'm loving, and go to Tesco's. We need to get some food in. I want to cook myself a sourdough pizza. So I have the pizza base, so I just want to cook that and have a shower, because like I am sweaty as hell. Working outside, it's great. I love it, and I am someone that loves the heat, but boy do you get sweaty, which is probably too much information, but never mind. And yeah, the final edit on that video. So those are all the things that I want to try and get done today. If I don't get them all done, I don't get them all done. That's just the way of things. ignore this pile of books. We will be talking about this, but not in this video. That's going to be the video after this vlog. So you will be seeing this outfit twice, because I'm going to be filming it straight away. Anyway, reading updates. I actually have quite a few this time. So on Wednesday evening after work, I decided to pick up just something completely different because Helen of Troy I'm really loving, but it is a massive book. I think I'll talk about that more when I actually talk about the update for that, which is going to be in a moment. But the book I decided to break it up with is Tokyo Ghoul Volume 5, and this is from June. I carried it over into this month to also read Volume 6 this month as well, and I think I was just expecting something a bit different. At the end of Volume 4, our main character is in this really horrible place. He's having to escape it. There are ghouls everywhere and they are just wanting to eat him. Basically, it's this weird place where these ghouls all try and find the best human flesh that they possibly can, and our main character gets caught up in it and stuff, so he then has to escape it. So I thought Volume 5 you would see some of that, well, some of his escape, but you don't. You see him once he's already got back to a safe place. As much as he has like little flashbacks, you don't actually see how he even escaped. So that was a bit of a letdown because I really wanted to see that escape. I was really excited to see how it was going to go. I was so hyped, and then obviously we didn't get that bit. But this has been useful because you do get backgrounds to a few different side characters in this, which I liked. And then you do have the plot that gets developed a little bit throughout this as well, but it is more about the past to certain side characters. So I think it's just I went into it with different expectations. If I hadn't gone into it wanting more from that actual escape and the high stakes and everything, and instead just having something that was very different, I think I would have preferred it more. Not that this was bad, I still liked it, it just didn't quite give me what I had hoped it would. Either way, I still liked it, finished it in less than an hour because these are so easy to read. Like, that's one thing I do love manga for, is being able to break up my reading and feel really accomplished that I've actually finished out a book so quickly. I mean, not that speed is everything, but it's so satisfying when you finish off a book. That was very good. I'm very pleased I broke up my reading with this. So going back to Helen of Troy, which obviously I've been reading, I'm now up to page 400. We're on, I'm not sure what chapter because it's now got an L in it and my Roman numerals don't go that high. But I am really enjoying this one. The thing that I am struggling a little bit is because it's such a massive book, and I don't tend to read big books anymore. The last big book I read was at the beginning of this month, but that was a reread. I know what to expect from that one, so I read it really quickly and it really didn't bother me. But otherwise lately, the biggest books I've been reading is honestly about the 300-page mark. I haven't been reading anything big. So I was really struggling on the Wednesday, just feeling really burnt out of having read the same material for the last few days, hence needing to take a little bit of a break. And I'm really pleased I did, because then when I went back into it yesterday while I was at work, I really preferred it, and I was just like, yes, I am back into this. So now we're at the point where Troy is literally just waiting for the Greeks to come in and have this war. Like, they've received word about the fact that Helen's mother has committed suicide, and that's kind of fanned the flames of war that Agamemnon, so Helen's brother-in-law, has always been biting at the bit to go to war with Troy anyway. He's been wanting a war his whole life, and now he has this amazing excuse. And so the promise that all the men gave when it came to Helen choosing her husband, about upholding that promise and supporting her and her husband, they are now being held to that promise, and they're all being gathered to create this massive fleet, the biggest army that they've ever seen. And it's so unusual because normally the Greeks are constantly at war with one another. I did also read the back, because Margaret George does say how she refers to them all as the Greeks just for simplicity's sake, rather than breaking it down into all the different types of Greek. And I'm not going to try and pronounce them because I just can't. But to keep it a bit more simple, because it is such a chunky book, and to make it a bit more readable, that's what she chose to do. And I think that was a good choice to make, in all honesty, because that is something that when I was reading the Iliad it took me a moment to get used to, that we're still actually talking about the same army that's going against Troy. There are just different divisions within it. So yeah, now we've got Helen that is stuck within Troy and stuck in this position where she's like, she wants to feel like she's part of Troy because this was her choice and she's now there, but also her home is Sparta, her daughter is there, and she doesn't want these people to die, because as much as, yes, she's now Trojan, she was Greek first and loves her people. So it's really interesting to see her conflicting emotions. I also really like the fact that we have different gods mentioned as well, and I'm making so many connections to other retellings of books that I've read, specifically Ariadne. There's been a few parts in that which I've just linked to and I really enjoy, in terms of like gods and stuff. Like, they weren't named, and so I'm like, but that reminds me of something that happened in Ariadne, so is it the same god? Like, I like having these questions and stuff. One thing I can say is that I really don't like Paris. I actually really don't. He is so immature, and he is young in this book, and well, in general he is young, like Helen is the older one, but he is just so immature, and it's so frustrating at times, like, to see him acting like such a child. And yes, he is only like 16-ish, but it's really annoying. It's really frustrating. And then some of the things that Helen then puts up with, I'm just like, oh, for God's sake, come on. Like, sort it out. He is being such a child. That's my personal opinion. Like, I don't like Paris in this book. But otherwise, yeah, I am enjoying it. All the things that I've already said and will continue to say. I think the writing and everything, as I've mentioned, I really enjoy. I think the pacing's really good for it. The way the time jumps and that work. I really am enjoying this. And obviously the links to all the different stories that I've read and making those connections, yeah, for that I'm absolutely loving it. But I am really pleased that I took that break to read Tokyo Ghoul, because I think I needed that rather than trying to do all this in one sitting with no breaks. I have 347 pages left, so it basically works out that I need to read about 115-ish pages a day to have this finished on Sunday, which is what I want to do, because I've got quite a few books I still need to finish for this month, and definitely the next book I pick up after this is going to be Northanger Abbey, because I need that read by the 24th. So yeah, we've got our work cut out for us, but I'm very pleased with it. Rambled a bit about this one. I always do whenever I pick this one up, and I think it's just because there is so much happening. Like, it is a big book, and each of the pages, like, it's crammed with something. It's not boring. There is always something happening, and so for that I'm really enjoying it, because it just keeps you gripped and keeps you hooked, and whenever I pick it up I just want to keep reading. And then yesterday evening I was like, I need to try and stay up late because I'm on a late tonight, and I'd been on earlies, so I knew that I had to try and stay awake later than what I had been doing, because otherwise me going to bed at like 8:30, 9 o'clock, well, I'd still be at work today, so I can't do that because I'll be way too tired. So I was like, right, I need to at least stay up till 11. That didn't happen. I thought, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna pick up The Valley of Fear by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, which again, just to break up this one so I'm not reading it constantly, except I literally just got to page 18 and was falling asleep. Which is nothing bad about this book, by the way. I was just that tired, I just couldn't do it. I love Sherlock Holmes, but I couldn't stay awake for it. So I don't have much of an update to tell you, to be honest. We're just talking about Moriarty and learning about who he actually is, how Sherlock Holmes is a bit obsessed with him, how people in the police don't really think that he should be, because Moriarty, the professor, is such like a respectable person. So that's interesting, and I am liking it, but that is all I got to. But of course I'm loving the writing style as always, and this is kind of bittersweet because it's the last Sherlock Holmes book I have to read. But yeah, I mean, this one isn't long. It's literally, let's have a look, 179 pages long, so this is a really easy read. So I will definitely make some more progress, but I think that's what I'm going to be doing, is just reading these two, because I do need that break. I'm just so not used to reading such a big book. I've got out of the big book love, to be honest, and that's not because I don't enjoy them, because I do. I think it's just because I've got out of fantasy books as much, so generally other genres of books tend to be a lot shorter than this. So that's interesting. It's interesting to realise that because I've got out of fantasy, I'm not used to reading bigger books. But either way, I'm very excited to carry on with both of these. For now, I do actually need to film this video. It's gonna be a lot of talking, so I should probably get on and do that. As I said, I'm gonna be at work this afternoon, so I will be bringing this one with me, and I'm really excited to see how we get the depiction of the Trojan War. And considering that we're halfway, I wonder how that's gonna go, because the Trojan War, it's normally depicted as being 10 years long, so it'll be really interesting to see how that works. That's another thing that Margaret George does talk about, the timescale for things, how it's always been referred to as Helen was away from Sparta for 20 years, but that the Trojan War was only 10 years long, so the discrepancies in timelines, and also the fact that she is normally an actual biographer of real historical people, and the complexities that she's found with doing an almost biography but based on someone that there is no concrete evidence actually existed, but argues the fact that there is high possibility that she did exist because all the depictions from Greek mythology are so similar to one another, and the stories have continuity between them all, that there is that argument to be made. But at the same time, there's been no evidence found that they even actually existed or that this war even happened. So that's really interesting. Just a side note that I found super interesting yesterday. So yeah, okay, right. I'm doing it again. I'm rambling. I'm putting it down. We're gonna go. So we do have a bit of a reading update, obviously, because this is a reading vlog. Anyway, the hair completely different today. It's meant to be really hot for the next few days, and I'm working, so I can't deal with my hair being down and creating so much heat. Nope, up, out the way. And that's what it's going to be like for the next couple of days, because yeah, it's meant to get ridiculously hot. Right, what was I even saying? Yesterday I had a really nice day. It was my day off, and I spent it with my partner. I went over to his after work on Friday, and then we spent the morning together before he had work yesterday afternoon, and it was just really nice. Had a nice little wander around London, the usual. It was great. I loved it, and reading wise we have made a bit of progress, but it's going to be a hard push today to actually finish off Helen of Troy. So we have got up to page 589, so we have about 130 pages that we need to try and read today to get this finished. Whether it happens or not, I'm not sure. Hopefully it should, because work shouldn't be too busy, so I'm hoping I should get quite a bit read, but we will see. So we're up to the point where a lot's happened, a lot. So you've had the battle that's been going on. It's been going on for a while. It talks about a lot of seasons passing. It doesn't specify any actual time frame in this, and that kind of helps with the time jumps because you don't notice them. It just talks about the fact that the seasons change, and it works really well. We had quite a bit going on, so there's been a lot of stuff going on that I haven't spoken about the fine details of, because obviously we know the main storyline to the Battle of Troy. However, there is a lot of finer details that take place in this, which I think Margaret George has just kind of added to flesh out the story. So I don't want to give those away in case you want to actually pick this up. But it was a really interesting one, and I think it reflected the difficulties of our relationship quite well. I still don't like Paris at all, and also Helen's a bit annoying as well, because there's just the things that she does and says, and there are times when I'm just like, ugh, you two are both really irritating. But what saves it for me is what's happening, so the plot line, the connections to other mythology stories that are throughout this, like it just works really well. And we've just been up to the part where Achilles has died, so he has been killed. So you had the whole part with Hector being slayed by Achilles and everything on the run up to that. So there's been a lot, and I have to admit those battle scenes are done really well, and they're fast paced, they're action-packed, they keep you on the edge of your seat. Like, I really like those. I'm not sure what we've got. I mean, I know what's left technically of the story, but it'll be, again, interesting just to see how it's done. It's also been really interesting to see how Helen was received in Troy and how tides and feelings are changing towards her because of this prolonged war, and some people are starting to treat her with resentment because obviously it has come about because of her and Paris, and so you'll see them both be shunned a little bit by their society. So there's been a lot that's going on, and I like the depictions of how strained everything can become when you've been under siege for such a long time and you can't go outside of the town. And although it is a big town, it's become inundated with all these people that are stragglers left over from the brutalities of war that have made their way to Troy, and now putting that strain on their resources and everything. So I like the way it's done the depictions really well, to be honest. But yeah, so we do have that little bit left to go. Hoping I get it finished today, but we will see. We will see. That's the goal. I'm really hoping I do finish it out today, because that would be great. But I will update you with that probably tomorrow morning to let you know where we got up to, and fingers crossed at finishing it out. But I have really been enjoying this book, and as much as I have had to break it up with other things to read, the actual experience of reading this has been amazing. And then I did read a tiny bit of The Valley of Fear yesterday when I was on the train home. Not much, in all honesty. I've now got to page 36, so that's it. But we're now at this place where someone has been murdered and they can't work out how this murder was even came about, and Sherlock Holmes has just arrived on the scene to do his investigative work, and he's listening to the police officer's theories about how it could have happened. That's literally all I'm on. I think, to be honest, I'm probably just going to push this into next week because we haven't got that far into it, so that's probably going to go into next week, because there is no way I'm finishing out 160 pages of this and 130 pages of this today. There is no way, and this is the priority book. So we're going to focus on this one, we'll push this one into next week, and that's what it is. So let me know whether you think I can do this, whether you think I'm going to have this read by the end of today. We'll see. Is it going to happen or not? Let me know in the comments below what you think. But right now I should probably get myself ready for work, really. So yeah, I'm going to go do that. We did it! We finished Helen of Troy by Margaret George, and I loved the ending of this. It was so poignant and so emotional. It was absolutely fantastic. I thought it was brilliant, and I loved seeing how everything came about with Helen going back to Sparta, how it felt for her, the difficulties that she had with her daughter Hermione, because obviously she left her when she was 9 years old, comes back and she's now a grown woman, and the resentment that Hermione feels for her. Then you do have the fallout with Clytemnestra and everything that happened to her when she gets murdered by her own son, which is all part of the actual prophecies and everything in mythology. Fantastic. I just thought it was so good. I really enjoyed this, and I loved comparing it to other works that I've read, so like Electra, Song of Achilles and other ones. And I cannot wait to read Cassandra, because again, that's going to focus on everything to do with the Battle of Troy, but just from Cassandra's perspective. That's actually a lot shorter, so I don't know whether it's going to focus too much on the actual battle or whether we're just seeing how Cassandra came to have the visions and stuff. Like, I'm not sure, but it's just been great while I was reading this to have so many clear links to other stories that I've actually read, but just having a different author's perspective on this. It was so good. And even though I said Helen and Paris were really annoying, and they were at times, they were so frustrating, by the end of it I really really felt for both of them and could really understand Helen that little bit more. By the end, I was in love and really feeling for our characters. So yeah, fantastic, absolutely amazing writing. I'm so pleased I picked this one up. It's not one that I'd ever heard of. It's only because I think it was Ashley from A Frolic for Fiction who mentioned it very briefly, and then I saw it in Waterstones and that was it. It's great, and that's what I love about the different book tables within Waterstones and just different bookstores in general, is they highlight books that you may not hear of otherwise, especially something like this, which genuinely is an old book considering it was published in 2005, so it is an older book, so you don't really see anyone talking about it, but it's such a good one. And I do think if you're interested in the Battle of Troy and you've read a few other retellings, do give this one a try, because I think it's so important to see it from Helen's perspective, the person that this war all came about over. So it was really good. I really liked the take that Margaret George took for this, the way she wove in the gods and goddesses. Like, I just think it worked, as you guys know, because I've been gushing about it every time I pick this up. But yeah, loved it, and I'm actually really impressed we finished it this week. Like, that's a big chunky book and we got it done, as well as Tokyo Ghoul Volume 5. So I just think, yes, we did good. We did good. But yesterday, as you would have seen, I did do a little bit of shopping. It was my partner's day off yesterday, but I was working in the afternoon, so decided to meet up and have lunch together. I was talking to him about the fact that I did go to Waterstones Piccadilly Saturday when he went to work, but I went there specifically looking for classic books that I've already read, but in the English library editions, because they are my absolute favourites. I love those. However, they didn't have any of the ones that I wanted. I was really quite bummed about it. There was two in particular I was looking for, and that's Frankenstein and Dracula, because I really want to reread Frankenstein and potentially Dracula this October. I really want to do that. So I was complaining to my partner, but he said, well, why don't we look at the local Waterstones as we're here? Let's have a look. And they had Frankenstein. They didn't have any Dracula books. I was really surprised. I don't know what's going on there, but they did have Frankenstein, so I decided to pick it up because it was the only copy they had left, and my partner's like, if you don't get it, you're going to regret this. Obviously, I could order online and everything, but I don't know, I do prefer shopping in store, even though whenever you order online, you get like little gifts and stuff. Anyway, tangent. So yeah, they finally had this one. I was really excited to pick it up. It's a fantastic story. Frankenstein by Mary Shelley is one of the greats of Gothic and horror literature. It's fantastic. So I've just really been itching to reread it. It's been a few years. So I'm really pleased I got it, and it's in the beautiful edition with all the hearts on the cover and the classic English library orange edge on the spine. And that's what I like about it, is it just brightens up my shelves, because I say recently, at the start of the year, I think I did unhaul my copy of Frankenstein that I have in the Black Penguin Classic editions, because they're just so dark and miserable. Like, I want them to be bright and lovely, so any edition that I can replace in these, that is what I'm doing. Honestly, for the next month or so, that's what I plan to be buying book-wise, instead of getting brand new books, because my to-read pile is massive. So instead of doing brand new books, I'm going to do classics that I want in those particular editions, because I want to change these into my reading and annotating copy. I just love them. They're so easy and just, yeah, perfect. So that's the plan. I was tempted to get loads because they did have quite a few in my local Waterstones, but I decided not to. I double checked online, there is no shortages. It just seemed to be that in store they have shortages, but online they're all in stock, so I can order it through the Waterstones website whenever I feel like it. So for now, because this is one that I definitely want to reread, it's going to be Frankenstein, and I might potentially order Dracula next month. We'll see how it goes. But that's the plan, is that if I want to buy books, I can, but it has to just be these classic editions and not anything brand new. Unless, of course, I'm going to be reading it for like a buddy read or some particular video or something like that. And then we also got Agatha Christie's Death on the Cards, which is a murder mystery card game. Me and my partner love playing card games. It's something that we just like doing. We've got quite a few. Obviously, we've got Exploding Kittens, a normal deck of cards, Magic the Gathering, which is a more complex game where you actually build your own deck and stuff, and now we have this one, which I'm really pleased about. So if you have any other little card games like this that are easy to bring around and everything, then just let me know in the comments below some of your favourites. But I was super excited by this, and even my partner was intrigued, so I'm very pleased I picked that one up. And it wasn't even too expensive really, because sometimes card games can get stupid expensive, but this one was only $14.99, so it's not too bad. But there we go, that's what I got up to yesterday. Obviously it had work, and you know what, it wasn't too bad with the heat. I don't want to jinx myself because it's meant to be today and tomorrow that are the really hot days, so I guess you'll find out in next week's vlog how we got on with that. That's where we're at. So thank you so much for watching if you made it this far. Again, I hope you're all doing well, and to let me know what you've been up to and reading. If you don't know what to put in the comments but want to put something, then let's put a black heart emoji, because this Frankenstein edition has hearts on the cover. I think we're gonna stop the ramble. We've been talking for almost 9 minutes, so I'm gonna go. So once again, thank you for making it this far, and if you have enjoyed it, don't forget to give it that thumbs up, subscribe, comment to let me know that you're here. Social media links will be linked below, and I will of course catch you in the next one.